Hello, everyone. This is Brett, and thank you for joining me. Today is episode 11 in my weekly ongoing playlist series where I show and discuss 5 albums that have been in rotation over the last week. If you want to listen to the 3 recommended songs that I mentioned from each of these releases, click on that playlist link in the description and you can listen in, and then you can also enjoy all this music from the past episodes as well. So let's kick things off with the Sunday's Blind. Back in 1992, this was the second album from the alternative rock kind of dream pop group. This album just immediately takes me right back to 1992, being at Arizona State University. I bought this on CD the very day that it came out, and back in one of those old school CD long boxes. The voice of Harriet Wheeler is just sublime. So if you're unfamiliar with the Sundays, if you like later era Cocteau Twins, Mazzy Star, those are some really good touchstones. I'd also say Slow Dive and the Cranes. And I'd also want to give a shout out once again to our friend James, who sent Sarah and I this beautiful copy a couple of years back. Thank you, James. So 3 recommended songs. We have I Feel, which is the opening track. That's just just immediately transports me. God Made Me is my second favorite. Third favorite is the song Goodbye. But I also want to mention the first single that came off of this, Love, which is this really beautiful, catchy, poppy song. And let's not forget about the wonderful cover of the Rolling Stones' Wild Horses. Sundays do a fantastic version of that one. And just a little tidbit, since I'm a huge Graham Parsons fan. I've done videos on Graham Parsons before. And perhaps a lot of people don't know that even though the Rolling Stones wrote Wild Horses, the first actual recorded version of it was done by Graham Parsons' band, the Flying Burrito Brothers, and released on their second album, Burrito Deluxe, back in 1970. It wasn't until 1971 when the Stones would record, their version of it and release it on Sticky Fingers. But in the scheme of these 3 versions, the Sundays, the Stones, and the Flying Burrito Brothers, probably the version on the Flying Burrito Brothers is my least favorite, although it is a good version. But it's hard to touch the original, and Harriet's voice on this is just stellar. So that's my first album of the week, The Sunday's Blind. Next up, thanks to my dad, I am a huge Frank Sinatra fan. And this is Sinatra's album, Watertown, which came out in 1970. You may have seen this at the record store, didn't recognize it, and just passed it up. But this is a very underlooked album in his catalog. I did not know this one growing up, but it is so fantastic. It is a concept album telling the story of a man whose wife leaves him and his 2 kids behind. My 3 favorites on this one are Goodbye, She Quietly Says. It's like the final meetup between the couple in a coffee shop. She tells him that it's not his fault, but when he asks, why, she just says goodbye. Because I get the impression she was having an affair. It's heartbreaking, and just kind of quoting the lyrics here. There is no great big ending, no sunset in the sky, there's no string ensemble, and she doesn't even cry. And just as I begin to say that we should make another try, she reaches out across the table, looks at me, and quietly says goodbye. Just heartbreaking stuff. Second favorite is the title track, Watertown. I love how at the end you can hear the sound of a train leaving the station. Also really touching. And my third favorite is Michael and Peter, which are the fictitious names of the 2 kids in the story. And the song is basically a letter to his wife, giving updates on, on the 2 sons, about kind of, him maintaining the house. Says that Michael has her face and eyes, and Peter mostly looks like him, except for when he smiles. Really sad. You get the impression that she doesn't write back or respond because he says, maybe soon the words will come my way tomorrow. Heartbreaking stuff. If you're unfamiliar, next time you see this at the record store or just bring it up on streaming, Frank Sinatra, Watertown. Beautiful album. All right, my third pick for this week. This is one of my absolute favorite jazz records. This is Soul Station from Hank Mobley. This came out back in 1960. It's a hard bop record, which contains elements of like R&B, gospel, blues. Recorded in one single day. You have Hank Mobley on sax, Art Blakey on drums, Wynton Kelly on piano, and the great Paul Chambers on bass. Whenever I listen to this record, it immediately gets flipped back over and played again. So good. If you're new to jazz or you just don't think jazz is for you, I encourage you to check this one out. I'm going to mention 3 tracks on this one, but every single one of them is a winner. Title track, Soul Station, that opening piano phrase and that kind of sultry sax melody. I love it so much. This I Dig of You, Art Blakey's drum solo is just outstanding. I especially love the part where it sounds like he's playing, he's hitting the top of the kick drum, the shell, with his sticks, and it produces that really kind of like stark percussive sound. So good. And my third favorite is Split Feelings. You have Mobley and Blakey trading fours, which are outstanding. If you're unfamiliar with that term, trading fours are when you have these little mini solos within a jazz tune where 4 meaning 4 measures. Sometimes they'll trade 8s where it lasts for 8 bars. And usually it'll bounce between a drummer and other instruments. In this case, it's Mobley playing sax, and then you hear 4 measures of Art Blakey, and Blakey's fills are just so, so good. So that is Soul Station from Hank Mobley. Check this one out if you don't know it. All right, before I get to the 4th pick, just want to make a quick little mention. If you're new to the channel and have yet to subscribe, please click the subscribe button, hit like, comment, all that kind of stuff helps support the channel. I discuss all kinds of music, as you see here, with an emphasis on 80s, 90s alternative, post-punk, new wave, goth, shoegaze, Britpop, etc. So next up, this is the debut solo album from Jaco Pastorius. He would only release 2 studio solo albums before dying in 1987. This debut came out in '76. He also has a live album called Invitation, which is really good. But Jaco played with Weather Report. He also played with Joni Mitchell and various other musicians. Outstanding fretless bass player, just outstanding musician in general. But this particular one features Herbie Hancock plays on it. You also have the Brecker brothers, Michael and Randy. 3 favorites. Come On, Come Over is the immediate favorite. I often warm up at sound check, being a bass player as well, with that main bass groove. Da-da-da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da-da-da. I've played that at countless sound checks over the years. Second favorite, Portrait of Tracy. It's a beautiful solo piece for bass. I love his use of harmonics, which are those really kind of chimey bell-like sounds that you can get on a fretted instrument, or non-fretted in this case. Donna Lee, which is a solo bass version of the Charlie Parker tune. Also want to mention Okonkoli e Trompa, which features bass percussion and French horn. It's hypnotic, cinematic, and at times makes me think of Brian Eno, some like almost ambient vibes to that one. So Jaco Pastorius, self-titled debut album from 1976. And with that, it takes us to the number 5 pick, and I pulled out a CD for this one. This is Meat Puppets, Up on the Sun. This was their 3rd record, which came out back in 1985. A great summer record here in Arizona, as the Meat Puppets are from Arizona. This came out back on SST Records. The musicianship on this album is so, so good. It's proggy, psychedelic, but highly melodic. 3 favorites. Maiden's Milk. It's this instrumental whose lead instrument that kicks in is a chorus of whistling. But man, this Maiden's Milk would not sound out of place on a Yes album. It's very progressive, great musicianship. Second favorite is Up on the Sun, the title track. I love the interplay between the guitar's ringing chord arpeggios and the melodic bass parts, and then it hits that change halfway through where we hear the title of the song. And my third favorite, in Arizona, when you have countless consecutive days at over 100 degrees, swimming is one thing that helps to take away some of that heat. And the song Swimming Ground on this album, it's just that feeling of being young, out of school for the summer, and it's of course hot as hell. So going swimming is what we did. The sun is up and beating down. It's hot enough to melt the ground. A little water would do us good. Meat Puppets, Up on the Sun is my fifth pick for this week. So let me know what you guys have been listening to, and I will talk to you soon. Thanks for watching. Bye.